Hi and welcome. This is Lisa Rangel from Chameleon Resumes, the premier executive resume writing company, and thank you so much for joining me today. Today we're going to talk about interview questions that can help you avoid picking the wrong job or a toxic employer. I really believe that the types of questions and the types of conversations that you have with potential hiring managers can tell you if you're picking an outright toxic employer, or even if it's a good employer, but maybe you might be ignoring signs that happen in the conversation that show that this person or this employer is not right for you, even though it's maybe a great job or a great company. And I think a lot of that is, it starts with knowing what you want and who you are. And then it bleeds into the types of questions you ask and how you ask in a conversation, and then the answers that you get. And I think the massive problem that I see people do consistently is they ask questions in such a way that it's like an interrogation or like the Inquisition, and they're got a list of questions that they want to ask and they want to get answers for. And this goes on both sides. This is both the recruiter, hiring manager side, and the job seeker candidate side. So we need to ask better questions to get better answers that give us better information so we can make better decisions. And I know that's a really oversweeping generalization on how to do this, but we're going to go into a few ways on how to do this in the next few points. So I think, we tend to ask a lot of how questions and yes or no questions, like tell me about this culture, or tell me about a time that a company does this, or tell me about, how this company invests in its people, right? Or tell me about the philosophy of the company, right? Or just these very overarching, impersonal questions of the interviewer. And we ask the same as recruiters, we ask the same type of, questions of the candidate, and we keep getting general answers from each party, and then wonder why we can't make a better interpersonal connection or a better fit of a hire when we're actually not talking about the persons involved in the match, right? The hiring manager and the candidate. So I tend to like to shift the questioning away from the hows and the yes or no's and the generalization type questions that are frankly so easy to can, right? They're so easy to be rehearsed and say the right thing, right? Whereas shift the questioning, especially if you're a candidate, to asking about that hiring manager's personal experience. That often can't be rehearsed. You can often read the body language of the answer. And so some examples that I'm going to give you are, for instance, that tell me about your company culture, right? I mean, if there can never be a question that could be more canned or more rehearsed, it's that one, right? And no offense to HR people, but Lord knows you got that one down, right? So, but I find that if a candidate asks that question in a few different ways, such as, tell me your experience about in handling or working with this company culture. Tell me what, if the person just joined the organization, asking them, what made you join? What about the company culture made you join this organization? If they've been with the company for a long time, maybe asking them their personal experience. How have you seen the corporate culture change? I'm having a tongue twister there. Having the corporate culture change over the time that you've been here. What have you liked about it? What are you concerned about? Right? That's hard to rehearse. That's hard to, give the canned answer to. Another question that is often popular to ask, show me, tell me about how the company invests in its people. I mean, again, that can really be a very overarching, generally sweeping, or rehearsed answer. Whereas asking very specifically, what is your experience with the company investing in you as an employee? Or what is your experience in the company giving you the resources to invest in your people? And can you give me some concrete examples of how that happened? That speaks, massively to what the true philosophy is, right? Because it's in the action, not just in the words. But secondly, even if the person is very gifted, even if the person answering is very gifted at the spin, and some people are, let's face it, you're going to be able to read the body language. You're going to be able to see what their first reaction is, maybe in their face or in their shoulders, or do they cower a little bit? Do they back up a little bit? Or are they really excited to answer, right? So those subtle 3 body language movements that I just did can tell you a lot before a word ever comes out of their mouth. So I find that asking people about their experience from their perspective often brings more genuine information. Now, there might be, asking about here's an example of where to use this information and how it applies to you. Some of the answers, many of them, frankly, I shouldn't say some of them. If it's someone's opinion, right, or someone's experience, there's no wrong answer to be given, right? It's their experience or their opinion. You can't, that's what it is, right? However, that information, especially if it's a good company and a good job and not necessarily a poor answer, it might reveal information that just show that the job isn't right for you, no matter how awesome the company or the job is, right? So for instance, if the corporate culture answer from one of these individuals that you're speaking with is, it's a really structured environment and I thrive in that and I really love it here. And it used to, I've been here 10 years, when I first started, it wasn't very structured, but now as we've grown, we have systems, we have this, we have that, and it's really structured. And I thrive in that type of hyper-structured environment. In theory, there's nothing wrong with that answer, right? But if you are a person who literally shrinks every time you hear the word structured, no matter how fabulous that culture is, it may not be the right job for you. Even if it's a top 100 best place to work for, if it's a highly structured environment and you do not thrive in a highly structured environment, it's good to know that ahead of time and not have a halo effect of assuming everything's great and going to work for you just because it's a great company and just because it's a great job. So this is why I think asking people's personal experiences for working in an environment, and and even if they don't like the structured environment, right? Say they really say, you know what, I really wish it wasn't so structured, but it works for the people here. Maybe you thrive in a structured environment. So even though they've given you an answer that shows they're not enthused about the structure, if that's something you thrive in, this still could be the right place for you, despite it being the information being delivered to you in a way that shows that someone's not enthused about it. So this is why, Glassdoor reviews and feedback you get from others, and obviously information you get directly from the interviewer, I find you can't necessarily take everyone's opinion on face value as being good or bad, as much as being good or bad for them. And then is that good or bad for you, right? And so that to me is where happy matches. Now you can also, based on the answers given, really find out if it's a toxic work environment, in disguise, so to speak. And even, or it might just simply be toxic and triggering for you, right? So again, and the key is to find out as much as you can beforehand. So this way you can either avoid a bad match, avoid the toxic environment, and just go leave room to find the place that's right for you. So that's what I strongly believe is the way to handle interview questions, is really shift all of the typical interview questions you see in a blog post or in a book, and shift it to what is that personal experience of that individual that you're speaking with, and get their take on it. And again, if they're new, ask about what attracted them about coming to this organization. If they've been there a while, ask them about how they've seen the company morph in that particular topic. Again, whether it's investment in people or succession planning or, handling diversity at the organization and all of those really important topics. Make sure you ask not what's the diversity policy or, how do you handle promotions in this organization. That's where those general questions, everybody's on every side of the desk is rehearsed for them at this point. It should be anyway, right? But the way you dig down deeper into that and get real information is ask their experience about it, because that's hard to fake and hard to rehearse and hard to can. And then determine if that answer is something that is good for you or not so good for you. And that's how you can start to move through finding a place that will help you thrive, as opposed to just, treading water, or hopefully God willing, avoiding a toxic work environment, or just simply the wrong job choice. So I hope this helps. If you would like to learn how to work with us so we can help you find the place where you're going to thrive, just sign up for a chat below, and let's see if all the possibilities exist between us working together. If you like this video, I'm going to ask you to like it. If you know someone who is struggling on interviewing or struggling landing that right role, and you think this will help them discern how to find the right role, I'm going to ask you to share this information with them, share the video with them, subscribe to the channel so you do not miss next week's video. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to comment below or send me an email at lr@chameleonresumes.com. I read and reply to every email and comment to the best of my ability, and I really look forward to your comments and interaction and your thoughts. So thank you so much for watching, and see you next week.